Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Saturday. My name is Katie Gideon, and I will be your on screen facilitator for this week one of May weekly setup. I am dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland. And then, obviously, if you hadn't noticed, today is May the 4th, or for you, the fans of Star Wars, happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you if that is what you celebrate. But I am excited to be here. I want to give a shout out to my co-facilitator, Jennifer O, who will be in the chat. Everybody there, you have the former Team Texas. Jennifer's dialing in from Texas. I actually relocated from Texas. So we are still forever and always Team Texas. But we are so glad to have everybody here, especially love seeing all of our returning socialers. Nothing makes me smile more than logging on to these setups and seeing names that have now become, familiar friends, as well as, the accountability buddies that I love to have as we continue on all of our self-care journeys. But make sure the chat is set to everyone if you want to share into the chat. If you got questions, comments, problems, all of those things, we want to hear about it. And for sure, if you want to do that. And then also, if you are new, we want to hear that. If this is your first weekly setup, if this is your first social, if this is your first Saturday social, we want to hear all of those things. So let us know if you are there. We'd certainly love to hear that. And then we're ready to go ahead and get started. But as always, please be kind and courteous to yourselves and others. No promotions or spam. Please respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Limit repetitive product and accessory questions. That's always a great place in the app for those. And you can always redirect customer care inquiries to our team, hello@silkandsonder.com. While Jennifer and I have some information, we do not have a lot, especially around any specifics. So we'll most likely send you in that direction. And then, as always, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. We know that a lot of this certainly starts tying into what type of theme we had. We just finished April, if you joined us for that, with the theme of play. And now we are moving into what I consider can be a very delicate dance when it comes to themes. So we are glad that you have come exactly as you are. And we look forward to setting up this month with you. If you have not received your May journal yet, don't worry. Just go ahead and grab some of those Post-it notes or scratch paper, take some notes, take some screenshots, especially if this is your first time attending one of these. It can be a little bit of a sensory overload. The chat is going to go a little bit quickly, but you can always click on a message to slow it, to scroll it. I will be talking, there'll be music playing, there'll be slides going. So it's certainly, and then you'll be wanting to kind of do some work in your journal. So it certainly takes some practice to kind of figure out what your cadence is going to look like at these. But at the end of the day, you just kind of ask yourself, what do you need today? What do you need this hour? What do you need this week? And you can always come back to that, because no one is grading these. No one is expecting perfection. No one is expecting you to have the perfect answer or the perfect response to these. We are just glad that you're here. We are glad you set this time aside just for you so that you can focus on what you need, what you want on whatever self-care journey that you're on, because we are glad that you are here and we can't wait to move forward. Okay, so May's theme is trust, which I think is certainly one of those kind of trickier ones. For me, trust is certainly something that is very, very high on my list, but I am definitely not someone that throws it around so easily. I definitely fall into the very, very much kind of untrusting of people, things, and all those things. But I have had to learn kind of the art of delegation. And so as I've kind of mattered through that, I've realized that the biggest area of work that I need when it comes to trust is self-trust. So I went to a conference this past week. And I think I always tend to surprise people that not only do I have these project manager and operational skills, I actually have a foundation in oceanography and marine conservation. So I know a lot of science stuff. So I was having some serious imposter syndrome at this. And I've had a lot of imposter syndrome since I've got here. And a lot of it is trusting in what I know, trusting the information that I have, trusting that I do know what I'm talking about and can be listened to. So that's where I came across this particular quote with, you don't have to be an expert. No one is expecting you to be an expert. All you need to do is show up and be you. So I was trying to figure out why I was feeling these imposter syndrome feelings when I knew what I was talking talking about. There was just a lack of self-trust, lack of self-confidence in it. And that I was like, is it because I have, a little bow in my hair and I look much younger than I am? Am I nice? Am I too nice? Do I just not sound like I'm confident? And everyone was like, no, people just don't really know a lot of the information that you have. And so I think it kind of surprises them. So for me, it became you got to trust yourself. You've got to trust what you know. You've got to trust the experiences that you have. And so that is something that I think is going to have to be a reoccurring theme for me, because it is one of those things that is probably I talk about the little voice in the back of my head. She definitely, this is her favorite topic to like poke fun at. She pulls out the megaphone and definitely chips away at all the self-trust, self-confidence that I have. So she and I need to come to a better understanding, and hopefully by the end of this month we will. So we are going to work on our trust mind map, our rosebud thorn, as well as our weekly setup pages. So if you have not set up a trust map before, well, a monthly mind map, this is something that is unique to the weekly setup. So it is something that we do at these, and you're going to find a blank page or a blank spot in your journal. A lot of people will use maybe the last one just so you can flip to it. We will have 4 weeks. So we will have 4 individual prompts under the theme of trust. And so this is an opportunity for us to embrace the theme of trust to unlock greater insights about ourselves. So we're going to delve into the complexities of trust, exploring kind of its role in our relationships, our personal growth, and our overall well-being, because we know that that kind of feeds to a lot of different things. Trust can be one of those foundational things that can have a play in, for me, in confidence, for me, in kind of some relationships that I have, certainly the relationship with what I know and what I have come to experience, and that it is worthwhile and it is validated and it's true. So I need to trust, again, all of those things. And so you're going to have your sheet of paper, and you can break it down into a couple different categories. I have my example on the next page. And so I will give you a heads up. This one, I don't know what it is about the first week of the month, but we do like to come from the top rope for a lot of these. So this one is certainly one that I have already been mulling over it for an extended period of time, and I definitely am going to be mulling over it for the rest of the week. So we are going to embrace the opportunity for trust to unlock greater insights about ourselves. And we're going to do that through the first week of lens, which is trust to forgive. Oh, trust to forgive. So this is one of those that, as I said, I'm going to have to mull on it a lot. So consider the prompt to embrace trust to unlock greater insights about ourselves regarding trust to forgive. And so a couple ways to kind of look at this is you can obviously break this down into, people, events, or things that find that you need to forgive, or that you want to forget, or forgive that you've had to forgive. But you can also look at this from a self-trust or self-forgiveness perspective. I certainly always like to turn a lot of these internally. How can I work on trust to forgive in myself, or the kind of self-forgiveness, self-trust, all of those things? But you can also think about maybe when trust was broken in a particular instance, and you can, and how you came to forgive. Or we know that sometimes forgive and let go will go a little hand in hand. But we all know that you need to give yourself some grace for this. Can be hard to look into and explore. Take a breath. But it also, on the other end, if this is a little too much to hit right now, these could also be quotes about forgiveness, some affirmations or verses, just something to kind of start building this, because we know that a lot of people have had some serious issues with this in the past, just in the kind of trust to forgive category. The exploration I kind of went on is I am absolutely a tend to forgive but not forget type person. And I think it really ties into that self-preservation, or at least having to, you have to learn from something. I always want to learn. I always want to get better. And I certainly don't want to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. So that's where I consider some of these instances of having to forgive as potentially a mistake that either was something I overlooked or something that occurred. So for me, it became that really interesting twist of the self-preservation, the self-trust, trusting to forgive. But then I realized more that for me, it was I need to forgive the situation, but then I need to figure out what my steps are, since I do tend to err on that not forget state. So I feel like it was a little bit of a carrying some unnecessary burden in some places, because I couldn't figure out if I was the problem, if the situation was the problem, and all those things. But I felt like the necessary need of like, I need a lesson to learn from this. so that it doesn't happen again. So this one, like I said, we're starting big, we're starting bold, we're starting deep. First week, so we are working on our mind maps. We would love to either kind of hear how you think about this. How do you plan to kind of look into trust to forgive? And we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I think the definite general consensus is this was certainly a little bit of a deep one, but what I do like about when kind of the deep ones kind of show up, it's almost like they were needed. It's a little bit of kind of universal intervention of, wow, I think this was kind of what I needed. It looked like we had a couple of folks that were kind of having that a little bit of an aha moment there. But then certainly the nature of, there are no right or wrong answers here. It is certainly the relationship of kind of trusting and the forgiveness side to it. But I think what I saw, at least a little bit on the consistency side, is that there's the concept of forgiveness, but then there are again those actionable ways to kind of how you handle that, how you navigate that, and how you repurpose, how you hold on to it, how you move forward with it. And that I think is where kind of the squishiness comes with these type of things. And I also then strongly feel is like it's not going to be a particular answer, a single answer for everything that you do, but the opportunity to just kind of be able to sit here and kind of think on these perspectives or this combination of these pairings is what is really special about the mind map, even though it can be a little tricky. And it certainly kind of compounds to what your life experiences are, how you have shown up today, and how those relationships are. But I also did see that there were people that were going to need to kind of maybe come back to this. That's why I include the other kind of visual representation here is that don't force what doesn't flow. You're allowed to take the space and revisit this later, rethink on this later, and certainly kind of come through as you go through all of these. You have basically the week to kind of navigate this, but the month as well. But I mean, just little bit of a heads up, I've seen the upcoming weekly prompts, and this is going to be one of those deeper kind of open-ended months for sure, which I do feel like you have really magical conversations in the chat. And whether or not it all gets translated to the page is that point a little bit the nice to have, but certainly amazing insight, really wonderful conversations. And I love again how each and every one of your kind of brain works, because it just shows the uniqueness, but also just the magic of how everybody approaches these things, but still from a no judgment, no kind of call out of the right or the wrong. It is, and we're here to support all of those ideas, all those experiences. So in continuing in the reflection mode, please join me on page 30 in your May journal for the rosebud thorn. This is an opportunity again to continue some of those reflections on how the last week went. It is an opportunity to look at the rose, the bud, and the thorn, which would be those highlights, those emerging opportunities, as well as those challenges. And you can kind of turn those again into actionable items, maybe of what you want to start, stop, and continue as you move into this next week, or coming back to this is the week that I had, then asking myself, what do I need this week to have either repeat of some of those things or not repeat some of those things? And we can then set up the weekly pages to kind of reflect that. So again, we're on page 30 in the May journal. The rose is something that went well, a highlight, something that made you smile, something that made you happy, something that went well. For me, work has been a little bit more stressful than usual just because we've had a lot of projects starting, a lot of newer clients working with new people, and we came out actually having a really good week, not only on the financial side for the first time since a big kind of transition that we made, that certainly did not help us on the financial side. We are definitely in the black. We're ahead of budget, and all the good reasons, so that was a little bit exciting, a little bit of a relief. Did go to this conference. At the end of the day, it did go well. Clients are very happy with what was working, so little things that I was losing sleep over, keeping me up at night, didn't make it to the clients, which is the most important thing. So they're happy and they're excited. And that's what we're here for. The bud is an emerging opportunity, something that you're looking forward to, something that is coming up, something that you can be optimistic about, or maybe something that is out there on the horizon and you don't really know what's going to happen with it. You just got to wait for it to get a little bit closer. But it's certainly one of those things that's nice to have. For me, I do have a lot of stuff coming up, both personally and professionally. So it just means I'm going to have to be really on top of my time management because a lot of it stuff has to do prep stuff. It is things that I am obviously very, very excited about. But it usually just, it's another one of those, you don't really have a lot going on. And then like everything seems to happen in like a very short window in particular months. So this is one of those, but I will certainly continue to share them because I'm going to assume that they're going to be roses at some point. So those are kind of the things I'm looking forward to. And then thorn, that is going to be something that is a challenge, not going well, something that is taking up too much space in your brain. Road block, speed bump type. For me, I hadn't been getting a lot of sleep. It is absolutely self-induced because even though I have happily made progress on my book challenge because I have finished at least 2 books in the last couple of days, I have been staying up way too late past my bedtime reading those books, but I did finish them. So, that's my thorn is I always talk about how I need more sleep and I need to take a little bit more respect and diligence when it comes to a sleep schedule, but I really like reading and it was really nice and the book was getting really good and I could have put it down. So please, if you would like to share your rosebud thorn in the chat, again, we're on page 30 and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your rosebud thorns. Please continue to share them in the chat. I certainly love this part, not only for the opportunity to kind of do the self-reflection on the week that I had, but being able to sit here and share it with all of you and be able to celebrate with all of you those roses, get excited about you, get excited with you about all the buds, but also provide some of that extra love and support or thoughts that are needed to tackle some of those thorns, especially I know seasonal allergies start coming through on the medical side, but then other things, to get excited about, all of the kind of new changes with a new season, a new month, kind of all the excitement around those. So it is a really nice opportunity to just be able to kind of put those out into the world kind of unjudged, with no expectations. Just, I feel like I always feel a little bit lighter, especially when it comes to some of those thorns that, maybe it's not something big, maybe it's not something massive, but it is nice to just not have to bottle it up. So thank you everyone for sharing. Now we're going to move into the weekly setup. So we're going to be working on page 32 and 33 in your journal. These are going to be the 2 pages that we're going to be looking at. And this is, again, a reminder to take a step back and maybe ask yourself what you need this week, because there are going to be times where you want to absolutely repurpose everything. And that is great. And you should do that. And then there are going to be times where you don't want to repurpose anything. Maybe the creativity juices just aren't there. You just need to go back a little bit to the fundamentals and a little bit of the basics. But there is no right or wrong way to journal. There is no right or wrong way to set up your tracker. There is no right or wrong way to set up these pages. It is what you need. How are you going to accomplish this? Because this shouldn't be negatively triggering. We should be able to find and strike that balance of kind of a challenge, but also something that's absolutely attainable. So it's, again, managing some of those expectations, breaking down some of those kind of barriers or parameters that we all have to work within, but also finding the kind of fun, creative, or attitude is everything approaches on how we can actually accomplish some of those things. So we are going to start again at the top of that page on 32 with this week I want to feel. And so it's kind of going back to that foundation of what do I want or what do I need this week. I tend to ask myself, how do I want to feel this time next week? As you kind of navigate the roller coaster that is the week, with the highs and lows and everything in between, or the highs and lows and the lack of sleep, it always gives you a grounding point to kind of come back to this as, well, this was my end goal. This is how I want to feel this time next week. So everything else I'm going to kind of put and pivot that, so that if I get a little lost, I at least have my kind of X on the map that I'm headed towards, so that I can readjust my course to make it to there. So here are a couple different ways to do that. Maybe it's a particular word and the definition of the word, or a particular unique kind of definition or a synonym of those words that you want to do. Maybe it's multiple words. Maybe you want to feel more something or less something. Maybe you have a word of the year. I saw that someone's word of the year is trust. Maybe that's the word that you actually carry through on all of these weekly setups, because that's where your kind of foundation is. That is your kind of long-term goal. And that's what all of your weeks you want to build up to that. So just because you're repeating a word or how you want to feel that week does not mean that that's a bad thing. I think it's great. And sometimes it can be a sticker. Sometimes you're like, I don't know if it's a word or a phrase or an affirmation, but I want to feel like the happy little sea otter with the flower crown. So I don't know what word that is, but that's how I want to feel. So there are no right or wrong ways to feel this. I'm going to throw on some music. Let us know how you want to feel this time next week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Yeah, as soon as the trust theme came up, all I could think about was the trust in me from the snake from the Jungle Book, which is a little ironic because I am absolutely terrified of snakes. But thank you everyone for sharing. I loved seeing some of the consistency that people are carrying over the same word that they've had from previous months because they're building up that the consistency and that planning there, the foundation there. But I loved seeing the embracing. I thought mayhem was quite clever. That was great. But I do think this is just another opportunity of how can you kind of find out what you need this week and how can we kind of ground ourselves in kind of a baseline truth that we can make adjustments around. So thank you everybody for sharing. We are still on page 32, but now we're going to move to the weekly major 3 goals. And I'm also going to combine the weekly to-dos kind of into one section. So don't worry, there'll be a lot of examples here. Once I go off camera and the music starts, I will go back through all of the slides. And then as always, let us know in the chat if there's a slide that you want to go back to or those type of things. And we will certainly scroll back. But the weekly major 3 goals, the way I look at this as the kind of mental or emotional reminders that I need to kind of tell myself. A lot of that time can be get rest, hydrate, excuse myself from the unimportant. But another approach is kind of the categories. Maybe you have a professional mind or body category. That's how you want to categorize some of those things. Maybe it really is the 3 big things that you want to accomplish. Maybe you wanted to feel calm, centered, and creative this week. So you wanted a calm mind, a strong and centered body, and a creative spirit. Again, the stickers can come into use there as well. I also am a big fan of alliterations. So someone is doing miracle mornings, they're moving and they're listening to music, but then there's the productive goal, a peaceful goal, and a powerful goal. The frog, fun and fierce. Again, those motivations of things you have to do, thing that you're excited to do, and just maybe something that you need a little bit more confidence in. And then obviously there's a great connection from the weekly major 3 goals directly to the weekly to-dos and those to-dos that are associated with those goals. So the bottom left is the mind, body, soul, but each of those 3 to-dos on the to-do list go directly to that mind, body, or soul category. We do love a good bingo. So maybe you want to put kind of the bingo board over here because the lines help you make, better squares, those type of things there. Or maybe it is just the general reminders, have fun, be kind, work hard. Again, the categories of learn, leap into, and let go. Maybe this is not where you use these. Maybe these are just kind of your self-care routines. Maybe this is where your mind map lives, those type of things. And then as we work into the weekly to-dos, I do sometimes think that the weekly to-dos and the weekly goals go hand in hand. For me, the weekly major 3 goals don't change too much, but the weekly to-dos and how I approach my to-do list tend to change pretty regularly. And that's because each week is going to look a little bit different on things that I can control, what time is my own and what time is controlled by others, as well as what are the things that I need to do. So there are a couple techniques that we can kind of talk about when it comes to this. It can be the traditional to-do list. It can be a to-do list. The difference between the to-do and the to-do is that really everything is to-done. It's just how you did it. So the to-do are the things that you need to do. The to-do are the things that you have done and the celebration that you have that incurs. The Eisenhower matrix is a operation kind of a tool of help you to sort your different types of tasks. So that can be the do, decide, delegate, or delete. For me, who has someone that lives by myself, delegation tends to be a little bit tricky. There's no one really to delegate to, but if I am not in the mood to cook or clean or any of those things, I will absolutely delegate my meals out to the closest restaurant or takeaway. Same thing with delete. I usually don't delete anything from my list. I just delay them. It's usually because they don't quite have a time stamp associated with them. The Pomodoro technique is a great way to kind of make sure you start tackling your to-do list in chunks. But another way to kind of approach your weekly to-do is, again, to use some of those categories. Do you have self to-dos, home to-dos, and work to-dos? Also, this could be maybe just a place that you put your to-dos elsewhere. And then I like that it has, this could be a really nice place for a doodle or a sticker, or again, the traditional to-do list, or a couple other kind of to-do techniques or prioritization on how to tackle your to-do list. It's this one in particular I wanted to look at this week was the 1-3-5 setup, which is that you do 1 big goal, 3 medium-sized goals, and 5 small goals. Jennifer O is putting kind of a really nice blog on how to tackle those with some other things to think about as you kind of prioritize and restructure the 1-3-5. But the big tasks, that's a task that takes up for 2 hours to complete. Medium tasks take about 1 hour, and then the small tasks take about 10 minutes or an hour. So this is another way to kind of break down the to-do list so that you can get more to done. This also, maybe it's just a difference of needing to prioritize. Sometimes I just have a laundry list of things that I need to do, and the prioritization of need, want, and hope can help coordinate those. And sometimes it is also attitude is everything. So how can you kind of gamify some of these, either through a bingo? We embrace and play kind of the side quests idea or the side missions, or maybe it's the I need to accomplish all of these things to get to the top of my pyramid for my successful week. Or maybe they are just, this is where I track my exercise. Maybe they are just the to be reminders. So let us know how you tackle these. Do you have the relationship between the weekly major three goals and your to-do list, or do you keep them separate? Or are you, again, a bingo person? Are you a category person? How do you try and tackle your goals and your to-dos on a weekly basis? And we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Loved seeing what techniques work for you, what techniques are things that you kind of focus on. Because like I said, for me in particular, is that, each week is going to look a little bit different. The random week in May is going to look different than the random week in September. And those are definitely going to look even different than the kind of December weeks. So having the flexibility and turning this again more as the tools in your toolbox that you can always reach in and grab, the opportunity to break these down, because what something that's going to work one week is not necessarily going to work the next week. And a lot of that is, again, going to depend on what you can and can't control. So being able to have kind of adaptable techniques, I think, is what's really great. And sometimes even just the small prioritization tool really helps. But just because these are there does not mean that they need to be used. So if you have your to-do list elsewhere, maybe you do want to have the weekly wins or the happy thoughts that you want to put there. There is no right or wrong way to use these, but sometimes it's more of what do you need to do to kind of make some accomplishments there or to your satisfaction. Shouldn't be negatively triggering. I found that if I carried too many things over from my to-do list, I actually needed to take a different approach. And so being able to pull in some of these other techniques is immensely helpful. So thank you everybody for sharing. We are now going to again continue on page 32. We're now at the bottom of that page with the habit and activities tracker. And so the weekly habit and activity tracker, or if you've had any of Maya's weekly setups, Maya is one of our other facilitators. She turned those into habities. Habits and activities equal habities. So if you have weekly habities, this is a way that you can kind of track those, and the way they kind of go hand in hand with the monthly habits and activities tracker is, for me, I carry over a lot of, I am absolutely a creature of habit. I have the same 3 things that I for sure want to do every day. That's move, journal, and read. Those just look a little bit different on what it's going to look like based on all of the other things I have going each day. So when I carry those over to my weekly spread, that's when I determine how many times a week I'm going to do it. How am I going to define my movement? Is my movement going to be a set kind of longer workout, or is it really just going to be the commute that I need to make to and from, because I really just don't have the time to kind of do a set aside full kind of 45-minute workout. But just because those are some of the habits and activities you can use there, this is also a great place to kind of put in some of those reminders to go back and check your intentions in your journal, check your reflections, check in on some of those prompts. The other facilitator, Maya, called them habities, which is habits and activities mushed together. And so maybe these are another approach is maybe there are habits and activities that you want to stop. So those are the kind of friendly reminders there. I also think is maybe they're not actual activities, but just kind of the reminders of, be kind to yourself, accept yourself, trust yourself, trust your confidence, those type of things. Maybe it is something as, dress in bright colors, have fun, more fresh foods, or maybe you're on vacation or you have family coming over, or you just have a really busy week where you really need to be present. So, you are not going to track habits and activities for that week. I had family come and visit a couple of weeks ago, and I absolutely did not track anything on my habit and activity tracker because I wanted to make sure that I was present. Was I a little annoyed that my reading schedule got a little bit thrown? Absolutely, but I recovered and I loved hanging out with my parents. So, for them, I will make the adjustments. You can also do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 approach. You can also treat it a little bit differently. Maybe your weekdays look a little bit different than your weekends. So you can certainly use that kind of structure there. Also, maybe you don't have to have all 5 habits and activities. Maybe you only have 3, maybe you only have 2, maybe you only have 1, and that's okay. There are 2 examples of just having 2 or 3, and a lot of it is just, again, cardio, go outside, more Silk and Sonder. So the opportunity to kind of do those and make those flexible with what you need. This shouldn't be, again, that triggering section. We need to make sure that, you've managed your expectations appropriately with the lens of reality, as I like to refer to it. And then, as always, with it being a new month, that means we have new visual bucket lists from 2 of my favorite Instagram accounts. So if you need some fun things to do in the month of May, here's a lovely May bucket list that you can start to incorporate, especially if you do some of either. I know we had a really great bingo board last month, especially with play, but I know a lot of folks will build their own bingo boards in some way, shape, or form. So these are fun activities to include there. And then I realized, as spring has come, the days have gotten longer here, it's getting warmer. But do you ever feel the guilt of having to deal with a nice day, and the guilt you might feel when you don't or can't partake in outdoor activities on a beautiful day? I am definitely one of those that I do feel guilty if I don't get outside on a beautiful day. And so I found this as like a really lovely reminder, because I found out that my to-do list kind of suffered occasionally because I felt that just need and obligation to go outside, instead of those days that you want to, because I do sometimes think I am a glorified houseplant. I just need sun, food, and water. I'm in a happy camper. So I thought this was just a really lovely reminder of not feeling guilty about it. And I think that comes back to a little bit of the self-trust and self-confidence of you're making the right decision that you need to do and going confidently with those things. So let us know what habits and activities you are working on. Again, we're at the bottom of page 32, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. We are now going to move over to page 33 and start with the meal plan section. This is now the start of a lot of sections that we start to see heavily repurposed, which I think is always great. It's a really fun thing. Again, always coming back to what do you need that week. So some people absolutely use it as a meal planner. Some use it more as a meal tracker. So on the intake side, if they're on some sort of, health and fitness journey or on some sort of kind of symptom discovery, that can be a really useful tool, because I think these are some really great templates. Maybe this is where you had a little bit of a hard time finding some of those roses each week, so being able to find one good thing for each day is great. Maybe this is where the to-do list is. We've started to see a little bit more of maybe a meal plan for the soul. So someone has included kind of different journal prompts or different reflection opportunities. I like the one second from the left with the theme of kind of trust and reflection on trust. So each day they have a new trust reflection question that they're going to answer, and you can either do that again in this space or carry it over into the weekly spread. If you're again on some sort of healthcare journey, maybe you have, this is where you track some of those healthcare components. So like the idea of you're, still in your playful era, calling them quests of the day, the thing that you did that day. Or this is a great place to kind of write down some of those really lovely affirmations that we have in the app. I like the idea of someone wanted to feel strength or composure this time next week. So they ask themselves, how did they show strength or how did they show composure that day? Maybe this is a clothing plan, especially if you work for home so that you're not wearing the same things, which that sneaks up on me a few times. I'm getting ready to go on a holiday. So I always like to pack kind of those like things of, lay out the type of things that I need for that, just so I don't overpack, but I can repurpose a lot of things. I like the idea of having to, how did I find you're happy that week? You can ask yourself that, but maybe this is kind of another to-do list. These are the things you need to do every day. We have some amazingly creative individuals. So the one in the middle right is a haiku. They write a haiku every day. You can also look at kind of the word of the day. This is how you're going to embrace it. The mind body health plan is also something that a lot of people will repurpose. It can be maybe you want to focus on the alliterations for the week, each day. Christy, love it that you want to try the haiku. Love it. And then the idea of, again, more journal prompts, those type of things. Maybe it is just a sticker, the motivational sticker. I do like the idea of, as we talked about, some of the duality with the I feel and I need. So this is the way you're feeling, therefore you need this. The opportunity to kind of reflect on that kind of cause and effect reflection opportunity. Or maybe this is just your highlight of the day. Maybe you want to focus on the 7 types of rest. Maybe you just want to ask how you cared for yourself today. Or again, the reading log as we move into the, I would say, cliche spring cleaning component. Maybe this is where those chores kind of live here. You also have the shopping list that certainly goes hand in hand with that meal plan, but maybe this is where you kind of track the daily rituals. Again, more bingo boards to celebrate the wins, the just for fun bingo. I like the boring stuff bingo because a lot of times there are things that you just need to get done. The self-care minders are always helpful. I also liked the ideas for mini breaks at work. Certainly the gamification of things, the one on the bottom left, each of the tasks through all of the sections that we just set up, they assigned a point system to. So if they had over 40 points, that was going to be their reward. If they had less than 40 points, they had their list of rewards as well. But you can certainly do the duality of the shopping, the buy, don't buy, those type of things. So I'm going to give you some time to work on these. Let us know if you repurpose these sections, how do you use them, or even if you don't use them at all. We certainly want to hear it, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. I love seeing the repurposing, but I also love the magic. I know Nicole pointed out that she actually used the shopping list for shopping lists. I love those magical aha moments that I stumble across when I actually use it as it is designed. I feel like that's a genuine accomplishment since I do try to do a lot of the deviation for sure. But thank you everybody for sharing. And can you believe it? We've reached the end. The last section is the I'm loving, where you can just kind of outwardly explain all the things that you love for that week or that day, an opportunity to just kind of yell it out, sort of, so to speak, on the page of the things that you love. And then as always, we love to see your weekly planner examples if you want to share those in the app. We love getting your inspiration. That is obviously something that we use in these slides because you all are amazingly supportive, amazingly creative, and we love seeing all that you accomplish. As always, there's just a reminder that we do have the monthly sticker subscription out. Those can be added to your monthly subscription as an add-on. These are themed to that month theme, not only with coloration, but the actual theme. So for the May ones, it was trust themed. But we also have the larger sticker pack, which is over 2,000. That's kind of the evergreen stickers that are still kind of the vibe and theme of Silk and Sonder that you can use in the journals, but they're not tailored to the specific months. And then we've just released the Elevate Planner, which again, another idea to reflect, manifest, and act, kind of similar. Again, you're gonna get some of the deviations between the weeklies as well as the life workbook, but other things that you can certainly take a look at as you continue your self-care journey. Jennifer O is putting in the chat some of the links specifically to the survey, as well as the YouTube link on the chat if you show up late or have to leave early or your schedule doesn't accommodate a Silk and Sonder social. You can always go look and search on those there. We, I think now have close to 700 different socials. So you can not only get different facilitator perspectives, but you can go back and revisit a lot of those. Here is a quick glance at my playlist. Don't worry, I will provide the link in the chat for those. But thank you everybody for joining us for our very first weekly setup for the month of May. So excited to go on this amazingly but delicate dance of trust for this month. But it's always excited to start a new month. It's always exciting to start a new week. And I couldn't imagine doing any of those things without my Sonder fam involved. So thank you everybody. You guys have a wonderful Saturday, a wonderful rest of your weekend. You guys are going to have an amazing week, and we look forward to checking in with you soon and hope to see you again. Bye.
Sometimes it hits like a car crash, and it's too late to reverse. Sometimes you make me a better person. Sometimes you bring out the worst. Sometimes we get on like fire. Sometimes we're stubborn like rain. Just when I think that it's over, you wave a white flag again. Everybody hurts just a little too much. Everybody hurts, but it's never enough. It's wonderful to fall. Let's love and risk it all. I'd rather love just a little too much. Sometimes we're trapped in a circle till we're digging holes in the ground. We're driving, nothing is working, but still